Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. Today we are gonna talk about the very first data type that we can use in different programming languages called Boolean. It's named after George Boole and it is being used a lot. Now what is a Boolean? A Boolean is one bit of data and that's it. So it's either 0 or it's 1. However, this 0 or 1 value is really critical because we are going to use it anywhere that we have logic in our program. So if we want to compare something to something else and get a logical result out of it, we use Boolean. If the logic is wrong, we will return a 0 and we write it as false. If the logic is correct and the result is okay, we will get 1 and we write it as true. Now, computer in memory will have 0 or 1, or we will assign false or true in our language as high-level language. Whenever computer sees 0 as a value of a Boolean type, it will show it as false to us. And whenever it sees 1, it will show it as true. Whenever we assign false to a variable of Boolean type, computer will keep 0 in memory. And when we say, hey, this value is true, computer will keep 1 in memory. So that's how the compiler or interpreter will convert these values to each other. Now, how do we assign a Boolean in different languages? The languages based on C, so C++ and C# are the same most of the time. Java uses a little different syntax, and remember these three are compiler based. We have one more, and that is Python, that is interpreter based. Why did I choose these four? Because we will cover these four. And why did I separate Python? Because Python is interpreter based and things are different in Python. So in C++ and C#, we simply say that a bool variable, we name the variable something. For example, here I call it I. Either we assign a value right here or later down the road, just using this syntax, we define that I is a Boolean type. In Java, we use Boolean with capital B. Then we gave the name of the variable, so Boolean I. Now, we have some concept here, and that's the scope of the code. Don't worry if you don't understand it. We have a concept here that is a little bit advanced, and we will come back to it later when we learn about methods, classes, and different things. But I have to cover it here a little bit, and that's the scope of the code. So as long as a scope exists in a code, think about it as a region in a code. As long as that region is being used, this variable named I can't change its type. It's Boolean. But in Python, things are different. First of all, the syntax is just like C and C++ and C#, so it's bool I. But this thing can change its type on the fly. So it's not hard-coded to be a Boolean for the rest of the scope because Python is interpreter-based and interpreters compile the code line by line. So whenever they get to the second line, they totally forget the line number 1. So if you are defining it in line number 1, as long as you are using it as a Boolean, that's okay. But if you change the type of I in line 2, that's okay. It will drop the concept of it being a Boolean and it will change its type on the fly. Basically, Python is a typeless language. It's really important to understand this because getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, don't worry if you don't understand something. We have a type in Python and we call it class. Don't worry, we will talk about classes later. But let's say we say that, hey, my object variable is of type class. Okay, if it was C++, C# or Java, in the scope of the running code, my object had doomed as a class. However, in Python, down the line, we can say that, hey, change it to a Boolean and we call it my object. If it was C++, C# or Java, this would cause a compiler issue giving you errors. In Python, that's okay. You don't get this error because compilers need to read the code as a whole and understand it as a whole. So they would yell at you, hey, you assigned my object to be a class. I can't change your mind at the fly. I'm confused. I can't make a decision. Either it can be a Boolean or a class. But interpreters are not like that. They have a very short memory. So when they go to the second line, they say, okay, you want my object to be a Boolean? I'm okay, because I don't have anything to do with the previous code. I just have to do with this line of code. So either it can find something that can be converted to a Boolean in the class and it will return its value, or if it can't, it will return a default value of false and it assign it to the variable, whatever it is. So understanding this is really critical when you are dealing with the language, because either your variable is dedicated to a type as long as the code exists, or it can change its nature on the fly. Changing the nature on the fly in the languages that we cover in this channel is dedicated for Python, and we call it typeless language. C++, C#, and Java are not like that. Now, what is the use of a Boolean variable? Let's say we have a bool and I'm using the C# version of it. Let's call it isPassed, okay? Right now, it doesn't have value. So by default, it will get the value of false. So let's say it's a student, okay? Right now, the student is not passed at all. Somewhere in the code, we have a number as the exam result, okay? And let's say the computer decided that this number is 76. Now, we want to make a logic. We say, is the exam result greater or equal to 75? That's a question. If yes, then the student is passed. If no, then he failed. So if the result is greater than 75 or equal to 75, we can change is passed to be true. Or if it was less than 75, we say that, hey, is passed equals to false. And now we stored a result of a logic inside the variable, and we can check it later in our code and do whatever we want. For example, give him a warning message or call his parents or whatever the case may be. So that's how we use a value type of Boolean. And Booleans are one of those data types that we'll use a lot in our programming languages, side-by-side numbers. And you should get familiar with it. Have fun, everyone. Bye.